Get out of here, dude. There's a lot of heavy breathing going on the mic. It's like we're a bunch of overweight dudes and it's like labored breathing here. Hey everybody tuning in out there in Facebook land and soon to be YouTube land because we're gonna go live on YouTube soon. This is This Pink Cloud, Season 2, Episode 41. Yay. I got to stress, Episode 40 last week was fantastic. We had the Men of Nehemiah. Love those guys. Great resource out there. By the way, I am DJ Kelly Reverb, or I am Kelly Reverb, and I identify as a DJ. That's what I like to say. And sitting across from me, let me see what I can come up with for Dusty.
Oh, goodness.
Let's see. LPC.
Mom's watching.
Yeah, right. I'll leave out the Charlie Manson part. How's
Yes,
that?
please.
But LPC, LCDC, starter of, or purveyor, would you say, of Sobar Basics? Purveyor? Yeah, we'll go with
Sure.
that.
I like that. It's
And
good.
then the self-proclaimed Vanilla Viking. And
VanillaViking.com.
I like to think of him as the bearded oracle. You like that?
That's new.
The
and
bearded
it's great,
oracle.
And I like it.
We call him the bearded wonder at work.
Well, I like the bearded oracle, actually. I think that gives him a little more street cred.
I like Oracle.
But that is Dusty Burrows right there, in case you didn't know.
Thank you, Kelly.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Dan.
And Dan, what can I say about Dan other than he is the biggest POS I've ever met? No, I'm just kidding.
Dirty.
Yeah, no, I love this guy, and he's been a great friend of mine in recovery. It is I guess you started up a group called Knucklehead Recovery, and you are in long-term recovery yourself, and you have a fantastic story, which I can't wait to get to, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is Dan Niebrand, a.k.a. Dirty Dan.
Dirty. Yeah.
I love y'all.
Hey, before we get into it, I just want to shout out to our sponsors. That is Summer Sky, which is www.summersky.us. Their number is 888-857-8857. They are a lovely facility out in Stephenville, Texas. It's where I got sober, and if I can do it, trust me, you could do it. I mean, it was really, I was in full-on denial until I got that 30 days, and I got that 30 days, and I'm like, why the hell have I been drinking this whole time?
We've seen your dresser.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah, you saw the dresser where I fell out of bed numerous times, and yeah, fun stuff. I'll have to share that with the audience again. But once again, that address is summersky.us, and that's 888-857-8857. Lovely place out in Stephenville, Texas, and where you can get some help. Also want to shout out to our boys, cardinalhouserecovery.com. cardinalhouserecovery.com is a sober living here in the DFW area. They have 3 different houses, I believe. 3 or 2. I don't know. Anyway, but cardinalhouserecovery.com, and that number is 918-998-4223. Once again, that is 918-998-4223. And shout out to Josh from Cardinal House.
And Chelsea.
And
Chelsea. New parents.
I know.
Yeah.
Lovely Lyle.
I know. Shout out. And I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't name their child Kelly.
Or Dusty. Or
Yeah.
Dan.
Well,
Or dirty.
or dirty. Well, but Dusty and Kelly are good unisexed, non-binary names.
Yeah, non-binary names. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. There we go.
So, name
Well,
your kids.
So yeah, we kind of gave you the intro there. But I mean, we are all friends in here, so if we call each other an asshole, it's okay, and if we belittle each other, it's expected of us.
I've been looking so forward to this because we are friends and we give each other shit all the time.
Right.
And especially Dan, because he works with me. And
Yeah, y'all
spent
both
a
work
lot
out.
of
Well,
time
let's
together.
get that out of the way. Like you work out at TCC and
Texoma Community Center. Yeah, we're doing great things out there, and Dan has been a part of the team for so long, and I'm so proud of him and all the things he's doing. But it's actually his last day.
Yep, today.
So
Dude.
I'm really sad.
Una
He's
lagra.
moving on to new opportunities, and he's been integral part of the team for a long time.
Right.
So I'll miss you. I love you, and
appreciate
we're
it, man.
really proud of everything you're doing, man.
We're gonna make Dan cry
and also
before he
F
starts
you
the
for
interview.
leaving us.
Yeah.
You knew it was
Well,
coming.
but Dan's at a lot of places because I know he's at Turtle Creek as well, and he does a little recovery tech, and he's trained to be an interventionist and all kinds of good stuff. And then the Facebook page, of course, which we all know and love, which is Knucklehead Recovery on Facebook, and it's the lighter side of recovery, just kind of saying knucklehead type things. But dude, you have this incredible backstory, or it better be after that build up, dude.
Yeah, for real. Y'all ready for the letdown?
Yeah, right. But Dan, just tell us a little bit about yourself and where it all went wrong and where it all went right.
So, I can't blame my parents or anything like that for my addiction, for spinning off. My parents did the best they could with what they knew, right? I'd say I had a better childhood than most.
Okay.
My dad got me involved in racing when I was a kid, about 8, 9 years old.
When you say
go-karts.
racing, go-karts,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Okay.
and we got to the point where we're traveling all over the country all the time.
Were you on there? Is there like a pro circuit for that? Or
There is now. It's called SCUSA, but back then you just had the IKF and WKA.
it was dads with their sons with trailers.
Man, there's a lot of money in it,
And
though,
gasoline,
bro.
yeah,
A lot
I
of
bet.
money.
I
A lot of
bet.
money.
Okay, well, I'm already envious.
So,
Go karts as a kid, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
blast.
by the time I was in junior high, which is where I met Dusty, I'd already started in getting this inflated ego because I was just doing things that none of my friends were doing, right? I was traveling all over the country, just doing incredible stuff. And the ego.
Did you have any groupies? At 13.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, you were your own.
I was my
groupie.
number one fan.
I love Dan too.
So,
Right.
I got a funny story about how Dusty and I met.
Okay.
I believe it was the first year that he moved to the colony where we're from. I was in 8th grade U.S. history, Miss Martin's class, and she just called roll his first day of school. I called my name, or she called my name. I said, here. She's like, I've heard about you. Get in the hall.
Already, dude, you get called out.
I hadn't even done nothing, right? And she left me
Shitty.
out there for a week. Like,
Okay.
I couldn't come the first week of her class. I had to sit out in the hall. So I'm out there the first 10, 15 minutes like, man, what is going on? What did I do, right? And all of a sudden I hear all this laughing erupting out in this Texas history 7th grade class. And I hear this teacher yell, get out. And the door opens and out walks Dusty Burrows. And that's how I met Dusty Burrows in the hallway.
Nice, dude. So,
So-
y'all were both troublemaker class clowns.
But he got
and-
let back into class. I got stuck out there by myself for a week.
Wow. Well, I mean, maybe that's some past trauma that you're still, you were dealing with.
Well, I'll tell you what, because of that teacher, I love history.
Yeah?
It was the greatest teacher I ever had.
Okay.
She taught me she wasn't going to put up with my crap.
Right.
And,
Important life lessons.
Yeah,
But
pretty
that's funny. So did Dusty have a beard when he was 13?
no.
No.
I think it came out, 14?
Yeah, right. Something like that.
Yeah.
But so anyway, that's cool.
So anyway, we started racing all the time, traveling the circuit all over the country. Egos getting inflated. There was this one group in Griffin Middle School where we went that just were not impressed with me at all. They all had long hair and wore Metallica and Megadeth T-shirts.
Okay.
I'm a people person,
Yeah.
so I was like, I got to befriend these people.
Right.
And of course, they were doing the illicit fun, right?
Mhm. They were taking pot
More
and
than
various
that.
other
Hot acid.
Yeah.
and various other
Pot,
substances.
acid, cocaine was really big, and then in the middle of junior high,
We had like a crew like that at my junior high as well. Yeah, shout out Richardson Junior High, which is no longer there. But yeah, we had a spot designed for those people, and it was actually called Freak Alley. And it was behind the school, behind these houses, and yeah, they would do all kinds of.
we had our spot. It was
yeah.
in the ditch that used to be beside Griffin. It's gone now.
Right.
They bulldozed that sucker. But now I started hanging out with those guys. When we got into high school, I was kind of hanging out with the older crowd. I always thought it was because I was cool, but it was because of my racing. I know it was. But
It was because you're what?
my racing. Like I was in
okay.
magazines. On Fridays, or Thursdays and Fridays, I would get picked up with a transporter outside with my name on the side of the trailer to go racing for the weekend.
Oh, nice, dude. So this was big time.
It was pretty big.
I mean, and I could see how when you're a kid, you're like, yeah, dude, let me
I was ranked
get
in
to my
top
car.
10 in
Right.
the country most of my
wow.
racing career as a kid.
Wow.
And so everybody we were surrounded with had big budgets. It was just my dad turning wrenches on our cart. And
Right.
I was like 50 pounds overweight, so we were lucky to be that good.
Right.
So anyway, I just started hanging out with the wrong crowd. When I was a freshman, I was hanging out with seniors, and I would demand that my parents, let me do what my friends were doing hours-wise. But, I mean, there's a big difference between a freshman and a senior, right? I didn't see that then. I totally see it now. Started fighting with my parents all the time, and eventually my dad got tired of it and blackballed me out of racing, sold everything.
Ooh.
And
I bet that was a huge blow, dude. Like, I mean, that's where your identity was, and you were like, yeah, dude. Okay, Dan, how about this, dude?
Yep.
We're just gonna go ahead and sell everything.
So I just spin off course. I'm like, I'll show you, right?
Yeah.
So I just totally spin off course. I remember my last day at high school, I got into a fight with like 20 people, and
Nice. How'd that come out, dude?
It was easy to do at the Colony High School.
Yeah. Did you win?
knocked a teacher out.
Oh, wow.
I spent a year in Denton County for it.
Oh, well,
And,
congratulations.
Yeah, that's
All
where
right.
I graduated, Denton
Okay.
County. So anyway, when I got out of jail, my parents sent me to Florida to live with my uncle, who was a
Florida's always the greatest place to get sober.
or Padre.
It was
Right.
the absolute worst idea
Sure.
my parents ever came up with.
Okay.
So my uncle was a big biker dude that he had turned my aunt's son and daughter around, so they thought he could work wonders with me. And we were two peas in a pod. It was a horrible idea. But eventually he got tired of me too, and he kicked me out, and I got my first taste of homelessness when I was 17, 18 years old, living in Tampa, Florida.
Wow.
So my story has a lot of homelessness in it.
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot of people always have the couch surfing stuff. Man, I piss people off so much.
Right. You had no couches
I don't have-
options.
Not at all.
Yeah. You were
So-
more of a park bench guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
gotcha.
at the end of it, I was living in Bridges in downtown Dallas.
Wow.
I think in like 2012, I got arrested like 20 times for panhandling down there.
Wow. Really?
So,
Huh.
yeah, so I threw my whole life away, get it back together. I meet this girl. I moved to St. Louis to get away from everything, right? Because Dallas is not working for me.
Okay.
So I got a friend that's in St. Louis, so I move up there.
This is after you get kicked out of your uncle's house in
After
Florida.
I get kicked out, I get rehab for the first time. My parents sent me this place called Freedom House in Russellville, Arkansas. Did that for a year. Stayed sober for a year, but I didn't stay sober for a year and a minute. I had everything planned out. Once I hit that year mark, we were off and running again.
I told I was talking to Dusty about that as well. I was like, well, I hit a year. Beer me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I set that day
My
up.
first year of sobriety, I drank on day 366.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
make sure you had the year in, just in
Yeah.
case you were a little bit off.
Yeah, I
You
was
had to
like,
make
okay,
sure
got
you made
this.
that year. Yeah, I
Didn't
like
work
it.
out so good.
All
Yeah,
right.
I told everybody the first year was for me to get blood back in my drug stream. That's all I was there for.
Blood back in your drug stream. I like it.
So didn't make
Aneurysm.
didn't make it a year and a minute. Come back to Dallas, getting
Well,
more
by
trouble.
the way, we haven't really addressed what your DOC was. Like, I mean, was it all over the place at this time? Or?
More.
Yeah, more. That's okay. So, are you shooting in IV and everything? Okay.
Yeah.
So, maybe you gave your veins a
Give us
a
the
break.
dirty details.
So man, I love shooting meth, love shooting cocaine.
Uh-huh.
Love hanging out with naked women when I'm shooting cocaine and shooting meth, right?
Okay.
So that was my life. That's what I live for. I got to the point where I was getting so screwed up in my head that anytime I would get arrested, they wouldn't take me to jail anymore. They'd take me to Wichita Falls State Mental Hospital, and I'd get locked up in Wichita Falls. I did a little stint there one time, and It was actually the last time I was ever there. They set me in front of all these doctors. They were doing all these diagnoses on me. And I had a basket weaving partner in our recreation class.
Okay.
That was 80 years old.
Okay.
That had been in maximum security state hospital in Texas his whole life because he massacred his family on Christmas morning when he was 17. This is my basket weaving partner.
Yeah, of course.
So,
sounds like somebody to buddy up with.
When
yeah.
he got so old that they put him in the minimum security up there in Wichita Falls, right? Because he just wasn't a threat anymore. And we would be doing our arts and crafts, and this guy would describe what it was like massacring his family.
Wow, dude.
Like, and enjoying telling you about it.
Wow.
Right? So finally, they put me in this room. They're talking to all these psychiatrists. They're talking in language I don't understand. And they were like, say, do you have anything you want to say before we pass our judgment on you? And I was like, yeah, I want to thank y'all for bringing me here. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Dude, I got my 80-year-old.
No, it really was because
right?
I used to think I was crazy until I got there.
Okay.
And then I realized I'm just fucked up. And there's a big difference between fucked up and crazy.
Okay.
And
well, expound.
I told them right then and there, I was like, I don't belong here, man. I belong in jail.
Right.
There was a lady in there that every morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, you could hide all the clocks, watches in the room. I don't care. At 10 o'clock in the morning, she would jump up and start talking nanu, Mork and Mindy stuff to the mothership for like 10 minutes and then sit back down and would never say a word again. Till the next morning at 10 o'clock, man, she'd pop up and start nanu. And,
well, dude, maybe she was on a different plane than us, but, you know.
Obviously.
All right.
So, no, I mean, I realized there's a big difference between being crazy and being just a screwed up person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but there is, and Dusty will, also agree with me that there is that co-occurring. You know, there is that addict and also the mental portion.
And that's one of the things I've always been impressed with about Dan. I mean, obviously we've been friends a long time, but when we're in our addiction, we do some horrific things. We do some crazy things, and once we take those chemicals out and we get into recovery, we don't act that way anymore, you know? And so it's for some of us, it's just a matter of not putting those chemicals in our body anymore.
Oh yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. If you take that
don't
portion
do that,
out,
and your life's going to get better.
Well, I can tell you personally that my mental health, since I've quit drinking, my mental health is, definitely, taken a turn for the best, because I don't have the level of anxiety that I had, and that was the main reason why I was drinking. So it was like the whole problem, the solution is the problem thing.
Yeah, and I got to give a shout out to my friends who have borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia.
I was going to say that.
They have to deal with a whole another set of circumstances that some of us do not, and it's very challenging, but it's possible that you can recover despite all of that.
Right. And then we had an episode with our friend Gail on
Gail
about,
awesome.
and I have to point at the camera and go, hey, be sure and get yourself checked out mentally, because that might be a game changer, because it was definitely for Gail, because she was undiagnosed with bipolar, and then once she got on the correct meds, then she was able to navigate her sobriety.
Yeah, when you stop drinking, you stop doing drugs, and you're like, oh my God, this isn't working for me. Get yourself to a doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist.
I mean, Zoom.
So
for God's sakes, man, it's so easy.
Because
just
there might
go,
be a lot more going on than just the addiction piece.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
So anyway, back to the lady waking up at 10 o'clock talking to.
So I got released that day.
Okay.
Right, they're like, all right, yeah, you're right. You don't belong here. And I never saw the inside of that facility again. After that, anytime I got arrested, I was like, everybody else got to go back to jail.
Okay,
so,
and give us a timeline. Like, how old of a fellow were you at that time?
Early 20s.
Early 20s, okay.
So, I get out of there. A friend of mine's like, bro, the Dallas Cowboys can't even stay sober in Dallas. Of course, this was early 90s, mid-90s, right? He's like, the Dallas Cowboys can't stay sober in Dallas, man. So you need to get out of Dallas. Come to St. Louis.
Okay.
And I made up my mind when I got there I was not going to drink. I wasn't going to smoke weed anymore. I was going to be completely sober. He moved me in with his girlfriend. She got me a job at the restaurant she worked at. And then it wasn't like a week later, I come home from work one day and she's got some dude sitting on her couch, and I'm like, what's this? And she's like, this is Jack. His dad is the chief of police, but he's the biggest pot dealer in, I'm not going to say where, because I accidentally said his name. And she throws me an ounce of weed. She goes, you're a total dick when you're not high. So I know you're trying to quit, but you need to at least smoke weed, and I'll buy the first ounce. It's on me. He's going to be your supplier.
How nice.
So I started getting high again.
Uh-huh.
You know, and of course, the weed wasn't strong enough. So then.
Were you a dick when you were sober? Because I don't think you're a dick.
I was
now.
miserable.
Yeah? You were just a miserable.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another good thing to point out is the people that are miserable in their sobriety. And I mean, I honestly think, you know, the 12 steps is designed to help deal with that portion. Or, I mean, you know, not just solely, but I mean, you know.
What is the difference for you between sobriety and recovery?
Well, sobriety to me is sober, right? Abstinence.
Abstinence, right.
So there's forms of recovery where, you know, if somebody's not smoking crack and raping and pillaging the world anymore, and they smoke a little weed and it's working for them, you know, that's a success to me. They're not on the streets being a street creature. That's a success to me if it works for them.
Right. No, and then we're also big fans of Matt, which, you know, I mean, hey, it beat, you know, a little buprenorphine beats, you know, being on the streets and shooting toilet water.
I was so anti-Matt when I started working at TCC, which is a Matt program. And, you know, and I told him I was willing to learn about it and whatnot. So, you know, the only things I'd ever seen were some of the methadone clinics in Dallas. There's like one over there on Turtle Creek in downtown that's just, man, there's zombies out there, right? And that's no help, in my opinion, right, at the time. So, and then I've heard, you know, bad things about Suboxone. The only thing I ever knew about Suboxone was I had a dealer that when he didn't have dope, he would give you Suboxone so you wouldn't go look for heroin somewhere else. You'd wait
well, hey, dude, that is good customer service. I like it.
He'd give it to you for free, right?
Okay,
so that's the only thing I knew about Suboxone. So, you know, but when I get up to Texoma, when it's done properly, right, where there is a end date, if that's what the client chooses, that there's counseling that goes along with it. There's, really direct supervision on how it's being taken and punishment if they're, and when I say punishment, I mean loss of services if you're not doing it right.
Sure. And peer support,
all
coaches.
of that stuff, right?
Right.
It works.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it. There's too many clients up there, man, that, you know, when I kicked heroin, I did it cold turkey, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That was the roughest 2 months of my life.
Right.
And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. You know, everything that we do at Texoma Community Center, we have a contract with the state. All our numbers are kept up with. You can't lie about the numbers. So if you want a opiate addict to have, like, I believe it's a 75% more likelihood of relapse, asking them to do abstinence, strictly abstinence when they get off heroin.
Yeah.
They're 75% more likely to relapse. You get people on Suboxone that are actually doing the program. They're actually going to their counselor, they're doing RSS services, they're getting involved in the recovery community. They walk away from it, man. You know, and they don't struggle. Like, I struggled for a long time when I first came off heroin.
Can you tell people more about what your experience is as a recovery coach? Because a lot of people don't know what that is.
Mike's here.
Yes.
So, you know, a recovery coach, I like to break it down this way. A good 12-step sponsor, and I used to be a 12-step snob. I love the 12 steps. But I also like SMART, Dharma. There's just so many good things out there.
Right. So you're a multiple pathway guy.
Multiple pathways.
So whatever works and whatever fits.
Yeah, and that's coming from someone who used to be a 12-step snob, thinking that was the only way, right? That's the gold standard. Nothing else is, you know, it's just a bunch of crap.
Right. Yeah. If they're not doing it my way, then they're not doing it right.
So a sponsor has 3 primary jobs if they're doing their job right. They take you through the book, they take you through the steps, right, and they teach you how to rely on God. They're not your banker. They're not your marriage counselor. They are not your real estate broker. That's not what a good sponsor is going to be used for, right? So a recovery coach does everything except 3 things. There's 3 things a recovery coach does not do. Let's take you through the book, take you through the steps, teach you how to rely on God. That's
And we're
that's
not your,
sponsor's job.
and we're also not your counselor.
Absolutely.
We're not your,
Or
we're not
your
your
doctor.
counselor,
There, yeah.
but we're barrier removers,
Yeah.
right? You know, you got somebody like, I'm trying to get a job, but I can't find my birth certificate. Man, that's our job. Step
and
up.
resource brokers.
Total
Exactly.
resource
Yeah,
brokers.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
for
I
sure.
don't want to. It seems like we got off subject, man. We were going down this dark pathway, dude, and then we started
Yeah,
talking.
I have two
recovery.
RSPSs here.
I know that you've sponsored both of them, right? Or you've
true.
mentored both of them.
Yeah. Way to go, Dustin.
Thank you, bearded oracle.
So anyway, I'm back in St. Louis. Start smoking weed, and then of course one thing leads to another.
And I can't stress that enough. That for some people, they can be California sober, I like to call it, and smoke some weed every once in a while.
Dirty Dan cannot.
Yeah, and you know, we had Quincy Carter, and I always like to name drop. You know, we had Quincy Carter from the Dallas Cowboys, and you know, that's what started it for him.
Yeah.
It was truly a gateway drug.
Yeah, it is for me.
So yeah, not
So-
for everybody, and I wish you luck if you can do that and navigate successfully.
I
But
wish I could.
yeah, sure.
So
Don't
anyway,
know.
I meet this girl, and I'm not going to talk about it too long because my wife's watching. So I meet this girl up there. You know, she was a good, wholesome person, right? And I've never had anything like that. You know, since my racing, once I was thrown out on the streets, I'd been involved in satanic gangs. I had been just in some really dark places, right? And this woman was a light, and I wanted to start being different when I would hang around her. And
She made you want to be a better person, kind of, so to
Yes.
speak.
but it worked out the other way. I trashed her up. So
Okay.
we ended up getting married. She gave me my son, who's 21, Tristan Dakota. That's my boy. You know, when he was born, I decided I just didn't want to live that dark life anymore, right? But I still liked getting high, you know? So, and we would smoke weed and drink. So I ended up moving her back to Dallas. We get into some of my running crowds. One of my buddies mentioned to her one night about how he hated doing meth with me if there's any girls around because I would disappear for 2 days with the girl. And she was like, I want to try that, right? And I'm like, okay. So I'm off and running again, right?
Right.
As soon as I put, you know, chemicals in me, I mean, it's instantaneous. I don't care about anything else. It becomes the priority. And as much of a pedestal as I had her and my son on, as soon as I put the substances in me, there was no pedestal for them anymore. The only thing on the pedestal was getting high. So I'm off and running. I'm back in shooting meth again, snorting coke all the time, working for my family business. I'd got a job for 3 years doing work with IndyCar.
Okay.
Which I'm a huge fan of.
Sure, of course. I mean, that's kind of your passion or your calling. Yeah. Well, actually, that's a fun story. That's why they call you Dirty Dan, is because you were always working on engines and you were always physically dirty.
When I was 12 years old, this dude named Mike Stubblefield that worked for my parents, I would get so nasty at my dad's shop that they would joke about. My dad was like, hey, I charge you an extra $100 for the undercarriage clean on your truck because I got to wash all this crap out of his clothes.
Right.
And so he started calling me Dirty Dan. My mom absolutely hated it. And then he left. He'd come here and there. You know, a friend of mine heard him call me it, and he would start calling me it at school.
And that is where it came from.
Yeah.
But your activities did not do anything to
I earned
dispel that.
There was many other ways that I earned it in my
right,
lifetime.
Right.
Everybody would always ask, you know, why they call you Dirty? And I was like, well, because it was guaranteed one time if you gave me a drug test, I was going to come up
dirty.
I also want to say, too, you know, working with Dan over the last year, he has an innate ability to connect with clients and peers because he's walked this path that most people can't say they've walked. You know, he's been homeless. He's been addicted. He's come out. He's now a father, a husband, somebody that I look up to as a man, you know.
A contributing member of society.
Yeah, but also he's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I know, and that's a huge thing. I mean, if you're miserable and sober, man, I feel for you.
And we have
you
a
know?
good time. I mean,
Yeah.
I know he knows. Like, sobriety's fun.
Yeah,
It really is.
for sure.
We have a good time.
And I remember it.
Yeah, exactly. And most of the time, you don't feel guilty about what you did.
No,
No.
every now and then.
Yeah, every now
But
and then.
I've never had anybody walk into my office and tell me their story, and I go, "Oh, well, Dan can't relate to that." No, I send him over to Dan, and
And Dan's
he
got
can relate.
Dan's the one-stop shop.
Even on stuff that I can't relate to.
Right. So okay, so anyway, so you're I know you said you were working in IndyCar and
Yeah. So I'm doing that, working at the shop, doing meth all the time. I'm one of the few tweakers that when I take it apart, I can remember how to put it back together,
okay, I like that.
which works for a mechanic.
That's
right?
a good thing.
Man, I could work, man, and people knew. Nobody knew exactly what I was doing, but people knew.
So they knew something was a little
My-
sketchy, a little squirrely.
My parents said they didn't know, but they knew. Everybody knew. I mean, I'd disappear to go score and come back, and it was bad. So I'm all strung out on meth. What got to the point where when my son started going to elementary school, I would come home so tweaked out that I would feel so uncomfortable with being around him and his mom. So I just hang out in the garage, right?
Yeah.
And I was complaining one day to one of my dealers, and he's like, "No, I got something to help you, bro." And I was like, "What do you got?" And he goes, I got some cheese. So you do your meth all day, when it's time to go home, just do a line of cheese and you'll be normal. And I'm like, "What the hell is cheese?" And he's like, "It's heroin mixed with sleeping pills." And I'm like, "Oh, bro, I don't do heroin. I'm not that kind of junkie."
Yeah.
And he goes, "No, you don't understand. It's mixed with sleeping pills, so it's not as strong, right?" And I'm an idiot.
Oh, that sounds good.
I'm an idiot that doesn't realize that a gram of heroin or a gram of heroin mixed with sleeping pills is still a gram of heroin. Right?
Sure.
So, man, I did it for the first time, and I go home, and I'm like Ward Cleaver. I'm washing the dishes with my wife, and helping my kid with his work. And I'm like, this is awesome. And a week later, I was not doing meth anymore. I was just snorting cheese all the time. Started getting the dope sick, and then said, why am I putting sleeping pills in this crap? And heroin was my downfall.
Yeah.
So I was highly functioning on everything. I would build up, like the AA book talks about, I'd build up this beautiful life for myself and then pull it down on top of my head. And I'd rebuild another beautiful life for myself and I'd pull it down on top of my head. But when I pulled the heroin cloud down on top of my head, I didn't recover from it. Ended up living in the back of an abandoned semi. Wife kicked me out. I'm going to tell this story. It's usually hard for me to tell it, so forgive me if I get choked up.
It's okay, man.
My ex-wife left me because I'm dope sick. She's begging me, just stay home. I don't know what's going on with you, but we'll help you get through it. And my dealer calls, says, hey, I've re-upped, so it's time to go get healthy again, right? And she hid my keys from me. And I'm like, where's my keys? I'm like really dope sick. And she's like, I'm not giving them to you, man. I don't care what you're going through. We'll get through this together. Just don't go. And I got a thing for collecting military knives. I love big old gnarly knives. And I went down to the toolbox, grabbed them. She was laying in our bed, and I jumped on her chest, and I'm pointing the knives at her. I want my keys.
Yeah.
And she's like, I ain't giving them to you. And I was like, I'll make you give them to me. And she's like, you do what you got to do. So I started stabbing on either side of her head in the pillow. I shredded her pillow, our mattress, just shredded them, right? And I see her looking this way, and like it caught my attention. Like, what the hell is she looking at? And I stopped and I looked, and my 8-year-old son was standing in the doorway, screaming and crying so hard that it was absolutely silent. And that was the end of that marriage, right?
Wow.
I got my keys. I left. I come home the next day. The house is already packed up. She's gone. I end up living in the back of this abandoned semi over in West Dallas. And my dad had some friends in AA. And they come pull me out of this abandoned semi, and they take me to this place in East Dallas called the 24-Hour Club.
Hey, we love the 24-Hour Club. 24-Hour Club is a fantastic resource, and it's actually designed for homeless, right?
Yeah.
And but not only homeless, but
Substance
people,
use. Yeah.
and substance use, and they are located on Ross Avenue. And we're actually going to have Marsha from the 24-Hour Club coming up in December. We have
she's
her on the show, so
One of my heroes. Man.
I'm
She's done
excited about
amazing
that.
things.
I want to hear about your life now too.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
we've got time.
So, and this is where it starts, right? So I get to the 24-hour club. They drop me off. I'm eating this free burger. And this is the old building, not the new building.
Right. Well, hold on. Before you get to the 24-hour club, when does the fish tank story come in? Is that after the first time at the 24-hour club, or is that before?
That was way before. That was before. That's the stuff that got me into the Wichita Falls for the first time.
Oh, yeah. You were telling me that you were unwillingly a Coke mule, basically.
Yeah, and so, man, I got this friend of mine named the Smurf, and
the Smurf. Okay, that's always legit if you have a friend named the Smurf.
Well, and he was built like a silverback gorilla. He had mental health issues. He was a bully. He was mean. Everybody was scared of him.
Right.
I would take him places. I remember one time taking him to, what was that girl's name? Marie.
Marie Dummy.
Yeah, we went over. We went to a party, right? And I knock on the door, and right when she answers, I had this leash in my hand for some reason, and I clipped it on his collar when she answered the door.
Her wall.
Did you?
Yeah. Anyway.
So anyway, I clip him on the leash, and as soon as she opens up the door, I was like, "Hey, I brought the Smurf, holding him on a leash." And but anyway, we start working, moving. Aquariums at night, and these people had the best cocaine I ever had in my life. Like, it was legit fish scales. It was good stuff, right?
Right.
So we were doing it for like a year, and having the greatest time.
And you're
free cocaine,
and you're working at an aquarium shop, right?
No, they owned all these aquariums, stores all over the Metroplex, saltwater aquariums, and they were big saltwater aquarium stores. So I'm there for a year. They're like, "Hey, we have an idea. We want to promote you in Smurf." And I'm like, "All right, what's up?" And they're like, "We want you to collect money for us." And I'm like, "People don't pay you for these aquariums?"
Yeah, right. Don't they just?
And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "People aren't paying you for these aquariums? Why?" And they're like, "You don't have a clue what's going on here, do you?" And I was like, "I thought we were moving aquariums."
I'm just doing a bunch of coke, and I thought we were moving an aquarium.
Yeah. So it turns out it was all a front for where the Colombians were bringing the cocaine into Dallas, and they would go to these different saltwater aquarium stores, and then they would go to the community from there.
Right, and you were making deliveries at like 3 a.m. and didn't think twice about it.
Not even twice. Like, I found the ultimate job. They pay me and they give me cocaine.
Yeah.
So I never claimed to be bright. So, so that went on for a while. It was great. And then it would move to where they would have me babysit. They would have these like super rich girls that would get really weird on cocaine. And so like they would buy an ounce of cocaine, and I would have to babysit them at their house while they did the cocaine, which was a really dumb idea.
Sure.
I guess, I don't know, whatever they were trying to
Did you bring the Smurf with you?
I don't know.
No.
All by myself.
Look at Dan. Hey, we won't go into that.
We'll just leave that one.
Yeah.
I wasn't always fat.
Right.
So, to the 24, I get dropped off the 24-hour club, right? Now, the night before, I've been smoking crack in the back of an abandoned semi-trailer.
Right.
Life's great, right?
Sure.
So I get dropped off in the old dining room, and I'm sitting there looking around this place, and I'm like, what in the fuck have I done to my life that this is my future now, right? What have I done? I never thought that once in the back of the abandoned semi, but that 2-4, that old building, it definitely had that going through my mind. What in the hell have I done?
Right.
So it's funny, I didn't know she was trying to divorce me at the time. I called my ex-wife, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm going to go to this treatment place. I'm going to get sober." And she's like, "Whatever you do, quit smoking weed." And I was like, I thought she said that was okay. That was, my medication kept me stable. She goes, "You need to quit everything." And I was like, "Well, I tell you what, I'm going to pray about it. And if God wants me to quit smoking weed, I'll quit smoking weed too."
Okay.
She's like, "Okay." So I go in, I fill my paperwork out at the 2-4. They take my Polaroid picture. And I go out on the front porch, because back then you could smoke on the front porch, and I light up a cigarette, and I look up, and there's this sign in the front yard staring at me that said, "Keep off the grass." And I was like,
I love that. That's great.
So,
and that was your
I stayed sober for almost a year there.
Really?
I was working in the kitchen. I became staff at the 24-hour club.
Right. Now, so when you were there at the 24-hour club, were you doing the 12 steps? I mean, was that basically your
you
recovery program?
Yeah, you had to
for
do
then.
that.
Okay.
You had to be working with a sponsor. You had to give permission for the office to check in with your sponsor.
Okay.
Now, the old 2-4 is a little bit different than it is today because back then the inmates ran the asylum. So people that actually started working the program and doing good when office jobs or director jobs opened up, the house would vote who living at that house was going to take over those positions.
Right. I got you.
So, I mean, literally the inmates
It was a
ran the
little,
asylum.
so it was a little some more self-governing back then.
Yes, which was good, and it was bad.
Okay.
Right. So
Sure.
did it for a year. Met K2 and found out that I could get high and pass drug test.
Oh, okay. Well,
But-
for what K2, the K2 that's out there now, K2/Spice that's out there now is very, very sketchy and can cause you to overdose. Just so you know, I don't know what it was like back then, but basically it is a plant matter, and it's just sprayed with whatever random chemical they find.
So they say it's synthetic weed, and I
It
say
is
it's
not.
It's more like synthetic PCP.
Yeah.
That's actually a good description. Yeah,
Okay.
because I had a friend in the Navy, and the officers would tell them, hey, this is this thing that's out there, and we can't test for it. So they would do a lot of it, but then people were dying because
Yeah.
of it. Because you don't know what's in it.
I seen some freaky stuff. I had a person one time at the DART rail station at Mockingbird Station in the middle of the night. Well, it was trains were still running, so it wasn't in the middle of the night. Asked if he could smoke with me. I was like, "Have you ever smoked this before?" And he's like, "I smoke it all the time." So I burned one with him, and like 3 hits later, this dude is doing the worm on his way to an oncoming train.
Oh, wow.
Like I started to leave, and I'm like, "Dude, this dude's gonna get run over by a train." And there's cameras all over this place.
So basically, you start doing. I mean, you had a year clean, right?
Yeah.
So you knew what was sober was like, but then that addict part of you still wanted to jump in there and find something that you could get away with.
I hadn't surrendered to my addiction yet, right? I had conceded.
Okay.
I hadn't surrendered. I conceded.
Conceded and surrender are two different things.
And
yes.
I tell this to people in my story all the time, conceding is like when a presidential race, somebody wins, the loser calls the winner, and they're like, "Hey, votes in, you won. I think you suck. I could do better."
Yeah, right.
That's how I handled my addiction. Where surrenders like what the Japanese did on the bow of the USS Missouri. Here's our sword, no terms, no conditions. Please stop dropping atomic bombs on us. Right? That's surrender.
Right.
So I hadn't done that yet. I always had it in the back of my mind that I was going to smoke weed and drink like a normal person.
Right, of course.
I just had to get this hard stuff away from me.
Sure.
But
yes.
the problem is, as soon as I start smoking K2, then I'm like, screw it. Why am I smoking this? I'm going to smoke weed. And then as soon as I'm smoking weed, I'm like, Friday night rolls around. I could smoke $60 worth of crack. No one will know, right?
Right. Yeah. And just do it one time, man. Just
off
kind
on
of
the races.
just occasionally. So then how long? Okay, so year sobriety, and then you went back just by smoking K2, and then what happens? Like how long of a window of
I was homeless within a week.
Wow, dude.
Because I didn't want to go to work no more. I just want to sit around and get high.
Yeah.
Right? And so my apartment that I had was not like, it was an old school East Dallas apartment where you're paying weekly, right? And so a week of getting high, I ain't got no money to pay rent. So I'm out. I'm out on the streets. So from 2009 to when I got sober in 2014, if I was not in the 24-hour club, I was on the streets. And I was in and out so many times that eventually I was given a lifetime ban from the Dallas 24-hour club.
Yeah.
Don't ever come back here again.
Yeah.
And I was butthurt about it. I was judgmental, like, you guys are sitting up there judging who gets to get sober and who don't,
Right.
I want to be sober. I just can't figure it out.
Right.
And one of them, somebody I really respect, was like, dude, they're not throwing you to the curb, bro. They love you, and you're like killing yourself, right? And it's hard to watch, you know?
Right.
And then they got people that they're trying to help recover, right? That are drawn to you in friendship with you and whatnot. And you're just throwing everything away. We understand it's not a choice, but it's hard to watch you kill yourself.
Sure.
That's why they're asking you not to come around anymore.
Right. And it's not like you were banned, but it was just like, dude, it was like when you get serious, come back.
So I was joking now, a lifetime ban from the Dallas 24-hour club means don't come around for 30 days.
Yeah, right. I like that, yeah.
So, but anyway, I finally got to the point where, and this is where my story And I think it's really important in recovery, whether sobriety, recovery, whatever. I think there's two things that cause people to relapse more than the substances.
Okay.
Right? And that's lifestyle or trauma, right? I know shame and guilt are way more addicting than heroin, right? Mm-hmm. And it's comfortable, especially guilt, like something that you think you've earned, right? That's hard to let go of because you did it. You're accepting your responsibility, so to speak, right? It's hard to let go of. But so's lifestyle. You know, you get bored.
Oh, yeah.
You know, running a gun in the streets and then coming, you know, living at a sober living house and carrying a message that's, it's boring.
Right. Or it can be. Yes.
It can be.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's what kept dragging me out was guilt about what my son had experienced. Right. Or I'd get bored.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like, and I always stress this as well, you know, do something that's going to, you know, there's nothing that's going to ever, you know, take over what your addiction was, but do something fun, find something to do, find something you're passionate about, and try to, you know, replace that, that addiction with something good and throw yourself into that because, you know, if you don't, then you're going to wind up with the recidivism.
Yeah,
like
people
yourself.
get into that. They're in this uncomfortable comfort zone, right? They can see like my life will be better over there, but they don't know that life. They only know what they know, which is this discomfort, this dismay.
These feelings that you're not used to feeling, you know, the awkwardness of emotion.
You have to be
dealing with trauma,
take a step forward
yeah.
into that new life.
Sure.
And that's hard.
And and actually being present for your life. Yeah.
I always like when you see on some of our sober posts where people start talking about in early sobriety how awkward it is to pursue the opposite sex, right? And,
right. Well, that's why they suggest a year of.
I'm like, you think that's
abstinence.
awkward? Wait till the first time you got to get naked and that sex crazed pervert you used to be doesn't show up. You want to talk about awkward?
That's so funny. That's so true, though.
All right.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, but so basically, let's just put this nutshell. So, how many times did you try to get sober before the one that took?
I have no idea.
I mean, like ballpark me.
40 times.
40 times. So 40 times of
I am a chronic relapser.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you, and just 101, because I know a lot of chronic relapsers, what would you, you know, suggest to a person that is a chronic relapser? What would you tell them right now if they're listening?
So one, and it's sometimes, like I said just a second ago, it's not the substance that keeps bringing us out, right? It's the lifestyle or the shame and the guilt. So for me, what did it finally for me is the last time I was homeless on the streets, these two dealers in Uptown, they're like, say, we keep seeing you on the streets. You're like different than everybody else, and we really like you. You're like one of our favorite customers. They're like, we have this studio apartment that we keep all our dope in, so we don't have to carry it around. And we'll let you live there for free. We'll even give you dope if you'll babysit our stash. You just have to worry about cigarettes and food. And I'm like, dude, oh my God, I'm finally appreciated again, right? I have found my calling.
Right.
So I get there. Well, anyway, these guys would start showing up with friends, and they would start kind of like showing out, treating me like trash, talking, just showing out, right? And I got so mad at them one day, man, that they left, and I took every cabinet and drawer that had all the dope in it, and I tied them open. I took every screen off of the windows and put them in the bathroom, opened up the bathroom windows, opened up the front door, tied the front door open, and was like, deuces. Oh, I hope all your shit gets stolen.
Right.
And I was on the streets for about a month, just fed up. I don't want to talk to a drug addict. I don't want to talk to a dealer. I am fed up. I am done with this drug addict lifestyle, right? This is what's going through my head. And I don't even want to deal with
While
people
you're
in recovery.
still actively using.
No.
No?
I say no. I was doing K2. I decided I'm not getting high anymore. I'm just doing K2. But it's hard to sleep on the streets at night.
Right.
Sober. So I'm like, I don't even want nothing to do with people in recovery anymore because there's that drug scene. I don't want nothing to do with it. I am over it, right? And I accidentally walked in front of the 2-4. My friend Michael Archer comes running out, and he's like, say, bro, I'm working here now in the office, and I want to get you back in. And I'm like, yeah, I already said it's a lifetime ban. And he's like, no, they said if the board vote you in, you can come back in. And so the board was like Brian Cuban and a bunch of other people from Highland Park that don't know me from Adam. And he goes, if I can get the vote and they vote you in, would you come back in? And I was like, I'd be stupid if I don't. And he's like, good, because we had the vote last night and they voted you in.
Surprise.
Shut up, Brian.
Yeah, right.
So he takes me to his apartment where he has me meet him at his apartment. He's like, hey, I'll be home at 6 o'clock. I've been in the same sweat outfit for like the last 6 months. It could stand on its own.
Right.
And
you were truly.
I was homeless, bro.
You were maybe like next level Dirty Dan. You were like Filthy Dan.
I was I was dirty.
Yeah.
So I'm 6 o'clock. I start having this conversation with God, and I'm like, I don't want to get high no more. I'd had this conversation before with him, but this one was different. I was like, I don't ever want to get high again. As I'm smoking K2, I was like, can this please be the last time I ever get high? I don't want to get high again. And this was November 17th, 2004. Actually, this was November 16th, 2014. And it started snowing on me. And I was like, holy crap, I'm getting fleeced white as snow, right? So I took everything I had and I dumped it out in this seepage coming out of this dumpster. And right when I got rid of it all, because I knew Archer was going to be home any minute, he calls and like, hey, I'm not going to be there till like 11. I was like, oh, shit.
Damn it. I just threw away my shit. Right?
I never got high again, though. So.
Right? Well, I mean, but what made it work at that time? I mean, just
honestly got sick of the lifestyle, man.
Yeah.
I got a stomach full. Right?
And that's one thing I love to point out is that nobody can make you want sobriety. Nobody. You have to want it for yourself.
Yeah, I just got sick of the lifestyle, man. I was done.
But so let's talk a little positive.
So there was a lot of work that goes into this, right? So I go into the 2-4. Again, I got these ego problems because I've done things that you can't even imagine. I'm better than everybody here. And I decided when I went in this time, I was like, you know what? I'm an idiot for thinking I'm better than these people. And these people have been sober for a couple years now, and they keep trying. They're doing good. I said, when I come into this, I'm going to serve this entire house. Like, everybody is better than me, right? And I forced that stuff on me for a long time. I still do it now. People will be like, dude, why are you always putting yourself down? I'm like, that's kind of the way I keep my ego in check, you know? It's,
right.
I know what I'm doing.
You know I was big on the go-kart circuit.
Yeah.
That's right. He's starting to learn too.
But no, I get it, man. So, but
you have
you're
a wonderful life right now too.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say.
So now
I'm married way out.
Awesome family man.
I'm married way out of my pay grade.
Sure.
It's number one question I've heard my
Outkicked your
entire
coverage.
life.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been great. We're two peas in a pod.
And her name is
Valerie.
Valerie. Okay. Hi, Valerie.
Niebrand.
Shout out.
She's kind of big in the DAA world.
And we're going to have her on the show as well.
You'll have her explain the 12 steps to you. It'll blow your mind. She's so incredible with the 12 steps.
All right.
So,
but yeah, so like,
we got married.
But how long have you been sober now? How long have you been able to
The
navigate?
17th of next month will be 7 years.
7 years, man. That's big.
Yeah.
That's huge. I mean, from going to where you think, I mean, a lot of people in society would think, oh man, well, this guy's just never gonna get it, you know, and that's why I think it's so important.
Ask Marsha when she's here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure she deals with people that are never gonna get it, and I'm glad personally, and I'm sure you are, that you got it finally and figured it out and actually, you know, wanted it for yourself and did the work to get there as well. I mean, because I think you are a beacon of hope for all those people out there that are chronic users, and you know, you present in the recovery community all the time. I mean, you're an active member. You're at TCC. You're at Turtle Creek. I mean, what else?
I want to give shout out to Metro Relief. That's where I'll start work next week.
Okay.
It's a homeless outreach, which is really cool because we go to the neighborhoods I used to be homeless in.
Hey, guess what? Yeah, you know that. Oh, dude, that guy's living in my old my old dumpster. That's my spot.
I do that all the time.
Right.
I got to give you an experience. So I went out with him last Saturday, and a guy that I used to be homeless with walked in the bus, and I was so happy to see him. He's so happy to see me. It was really cool. He bolted. When he bolted, all of a sudden I got so bummed out, you know, because my life has changed so much in the last 7 years, right? And this cat's still out there.
Yeah.
And I remember that, man. He's been going through that for another 7 years. Just
Man,
breaks
can
my
you
heart,
imagine?
dude.
Can you imagine that? You probably wouldn't be around, dude. I gotta say, Dirty Dan might not have been. He might have been 6 feet under.
I told my sponsor one time when I was out there, I was like, I've accepted my fate. I'm to die a drug addict out here, you know, and I think it's coming.
Yeah.
I think it's
A
coming
lot
soon.
of people are that way.
My sponsor says, "You really think you're that lucky?" I was like, "What do you mean that lucky?" He goes, "Could you imagine being out here for another 30 years?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, hell no."
Right. Hey, real quick, but I mean, you know, you're doing good things in the community. You've had some sobriety. Hey, Brett, we do have a video question from our friend Stephanie Crawford. She sent this in to me, and I wanted to get her on the air. She's actually with Maggie's House, and Maggie's House is a sober living facility and all kinds of good stuff, but it's mainly for alcohol and it's for women. But they also have a podcast, and I love her. I had them on the show earlier. You can look it up on our YouTube channel, which is thispinkcloud.com. If you go to thispinkcloud.com, please subscribe. But her episode will be on there from Maggie's House, and let's hear what Stephanie has to ask us this week.
Hi, Kelly. This is Stephanie with the Maxwell House, and I would like to ask, if someone is in denial about their alcoholism or drug addiction, what is the best way that you would recommend a family member to be helpful to them? Also, don't forget to check out the Maxwell House podcast, where we conduct interviews, step studies, big book workshops, and more. Bye.
Cool. And I love Stephanie. She's great. She's good people, doing good things. She's RSPS.
Great
as well.
question.
Yeah, but this is one of those vexing questions. I've gotten actually personal emails from people, you know, saying, hey, you know, my 70-year-old dad's an alcoholic, but, you know, he's in denial. What should I do? And I always suggest, you know, you can only do so much as a family member. I always am a big advocate for Al-Anon for the person. Just because, you know, somebody you know has the addiction, it's not just their problem. I mean, you have to learn to deal with it your way, and you can actually have your own community in Al-Anon, you know, without having an addiction, but just having a loved one that's in addiction, because then you can relate and have a resource and a community behind you of people going through similar stuff. So, I mean...
Absolutely. One of the things I want to add to that, it's great advice. Al-Anon is wonderful, because really you have to focus on, how do I get through this experience of supporting somebody that's in active addiction? So Al-Anon would be my number one. And there's other communities out there too. We had somebody on the show who runs Recovery for the Rest of Us, you know, and so that's a Facebook page you can check out. And so it's getting to know other people that are going through similar experiences than you're going through, because sometimes you don't have the answers, but if you collaborate with other people, they will give you some.
Well, and so Smart
some good
Recovery has
stuff.
friends and family, right? So the 12 Steps has Al-Anon. Smart Recovery has friends and family, which is directed to helping them. So the key is what she said there at the end, you know, what the help isn't, when you got somebody in denial, they're not going to be that much of help to the person in denial as you are going to be the loved ones that are around them.
Right. And I mean, maybe you can try to get them to kind of take, you know, an inventory. Anyway, but, you know, and maybe help them to realize, you know, or a basic exercise of, hey, what are the pros and cons of you drinking? Because I'm seeing a lot of cons and you're killing yourself. So, you know, I mean, I think you can confront them lightly, but and definitely speak to them and let them know that you feel that they have a problem, you know, with drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to protect somebody from their consequences, because consequences are great motivators, right?
Sure.
So, and you can totally set your boundaries and express your feelings about the loved one that's suffering through the addiction. But me personally, recovery has to be attracted, not promoted, right?
Yeah.
So
it says that in that big blue book.
If you push somebody into it, I mean, it didn't work for me. Did it work for you? People pushing you into it?
No, I had to want it myself.
That's it. So
That's what I'm saying.
So
yeah.
I recommend that the loved ones go work on themselves, right? And
By the way, I didn't have a problem.
if you say so.
Just let's be clear on that.
Okay. My bad.
Yeah. Right.
I'll co-sign that bullshit.
Yeah. Right.
So, I used to, before we moved to McKinney, we'd get calls to do 12-step calls in emergency rooms. They'd call up and say, hey, we got one for you. And I never, not one time that I ever did a 12-step call in any of the emergency rooms in Dallas did I ever get through to the attic, ever, not once. But the families that were there crying on their bedside, I did a lot of help for those people.
Yeah. Right.
Explaining to them what's going on, what's going to work, what's not going to work, what you can do,
what you can expect, maybe,
and
or possibilities.
To shift that focus from them to you. Like, what do you need? How are you going to get through this
For sure.
experience? Because that's rough. Being the loved one of somebody who is suffering an addiction, you have your own experience, and that is huge.
Well, guys, we are at that time. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is summersky.us, and that is 888-857-8857, and that is summersky.us. They are a great resource. Like how to tie this in, we are all, like I said, I was in complete denial of my addiction. It was not a problem. It was a problem for everybody else, but not me, until I had that 30 days, that window of clarity, and, the supervised medical detox. You need some time to give yourself to process, maybe that, you do have a problem, hey, and if you don't think you have a problem, then just quit.
Yeah.
or just,
Just do it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But hey, real quick, I want to give your Facebook page a shout out, Knucklehead Recovery. And then do you guys have any shouts out?
SoBar Basics Facebook page, SoBarBasics.com, and Texoma Community Center, where we do work. It's Dan's last day, and so I want to give him a big shout out.
This is your going away party.
Yeah.
All the awesome work he's done over the last year or so. You've been an integral member of the team and brought so much to it. And I've just coming to work every day knowing that you're going to be there. It's been awesome, man. So I'm going to miss you a lot. I love you.
I love you
and
too,
you've
brother.
been an inspiration to me. So keep up all the good work. And I see big things in your future, man. So keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Thank you. Hope it's not debt, the big thing he sees in my future.
Yeah, right. Hey, and then obviously you have your shouts out, and I will, let
to
you
my wife, Valerie, hello, my kids. But, man, the biggest thing I want to bring recognition to, man, is all our friends that didn't make it this far, man, and we lost along the way.
Yeah.
So that's what I want
That's
to give a
heavy.
big shout out to.
That's heavy. Pour one on the block. Pour a water on the block for our homies. Yeah, no. But thanks for coming out, buddy. I appreciate it. And thanks for sharing your story, because hopefully we inspired somebody out there. And Brett, if you would play us out, please. But other than that, Knucklehead Recovery on Facebook page, thispinkcloud.com, YouTube, SoBar Basics on Facebook. And then remember, everybody, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.
If one works, imagine what 6 would do.